Well, there's a new German company that just started that can actually freeze your body and keep it preserved for how many ever years you want it to be preserved for, and also use a chipset in which your entire soul or the memory or consciousness can be transferred into this chip so that in the future they can bring you back to life so that you can live in the future and experience what life in the future is going to be like. Now, apparently this startup right here is from Germany, and it seems like a group of scientists who've been working very keen into preserving human body and trying to make sure that even if we are dead, they can bring us back to life using some sort of a neurotechnology that basically transfers your entire consciousness into a tiny chip. Now, if you want to preserve your body and wake up in the future, it's actually going to cost you about $200,000 in order to basically cheat death. Now, according to the reports, a German chronic startup is now offering a chance at a second life for the cost of a sports car, where it seems like they're going to put you through some sort of medication and inside some sort of a laboratory, and they're basically going to cool your body down for like a very long period of time, probably 10 years or 20 years or 30 years or even 50 years ahead in the future. It depends on whatever the customer asks for. And this right here is like the facility in which they're apparently going to keep every single body inside for many years to come, and they're just going to preserve you inside of this for generations to come. Now, the guy from the company actually gives us like a brief explanation as to how this whole process works, and I think you guys should definitely take a look at this one. So here we go.
Passing, they're not alive because obviously there's no metabolism, not functioning, not moving around. So people say, well, if they're not alive, they must be dead. Well, no, there's kind of an in-between state, which is not really alive or dead. So in our view, dying is a process, and cryonics stops that process. It puts dying on a pause.
So this whole operation, it's called as cryonic operations.
And lets you go into the future where we have greater capabilities to reverse that and bring you back to life. The first stage of the procedure, we have to wait until the patient's been declared legally dead. We then move the patient from the bed into this ice bath, and we're going to cover them in ice and add some water. Obviously we don't have that here, but we're going to use this device called the squid to circulate icy water around the patient. That accelerates the cooling, external cooling. At the same time, we're going to apply a mechanical CPR device. It's much more efficient and less tiring than manual CPR, and a respirator. First of all, we have to circulate blood around the patient. Otherwise,
so does that mean that the mechanical CPR is just going to keep doing it
out of the brain,
all the
especially? So we have to circulate that around. And also, we're going to give a series of medications to protect the cells. So we're going to stop the patient from returning to consciousness. Number one, we're going to stop the blood from clotting. We're going to keep the blood pressure up. All these things we have to do to maintain viability.
To consciousness. Yeah, so I actually heard about this whole story. It seems like this little kid right here, she was going through some sort of a cancer, and her parents decided that she's not going to be alive for a long time. So they decided to go ahead and put this child through one of these treatments, which is known as the Chronics Preservation Organization that's going on, so that they can resurrect her back in the future anytime they have any sort of advancement in medications, possibly cure the illness that she's going through, so that they can basically get her back to life using this whole technology. So they tried all sorts of medication before they jumped in, gave this whole thing a shot. It seems like they went on and gave all sorts of medication a try, and nothing worked out. And so they finally decided that, the only way they could possibly keep their loved ones alive is by just preserving them. Maybe, if they're lucky enough, they might come back to life in the future. So they basically just transfer what is known as this whole consciousness into some sort of a chipset. Now, I want you guys to take a look at how this whole consciousness process works, because Elon Musk actually speaks about this whole chip, a brain implant that he's working on currently, which is under progress, and he's already made it. And it seems like in 2026, we're possibly going to be getting this whole technology that's going to be releasing out to the world, where people will be able to just store their consciousness inside a chip, and they can even use this chip. Their own consciousness can be transferred using some sort of a neural technology or whatsoever, because obviously there are some headsets which basically reads your minds, which we will talk about in just a minute. Before we go to that, they can actually go ahead and transfer all of your memories and your entire life and everything that you have as a consciousness, basically your soul, into this tiny chipset, which can be placed inside a robot, which means that you can also be resurrected inside a robot that Elon Musk is creating. So you can basically be living as a robot with your consciousness, your soul fully being present inside this robot, and you're just going to live a life with no human body, or no human form. I know this really sounds very effed up and sinful, but it seems like world is going to a whole different era.
Could you imagine that one day we would be able to download our human brain capacity into a Optimus?
It is possible, I think, to do that. It is possible.
Which would be a different way of eternal life, because we would also download our personalities into a body.
Yes, we could download the things that we believe make ourselves unique. Now, of course, if you're not in a body anymore, there's definitely going to be some difference there, you know. But as far as preserving our memories, our personality, if you will, I think we could do that.
That's crazy. Imagine yourself basically living inside one of this Optimus robot that Elon Musk is creating. You can basically transfer your whole soul and put all of your consciousness inside of this robot right here, and you can basically stay alive forever. You don't really need no organs. You don't need nothing. You're basically going to be staying alive forever, and this is basically what the robot looks like. And obviously, it's not fully finished, but then they say that, you know, they're currently working on it. This is like the latest version of what the robot looks like. It functions pretty well. It has like a pretty good arm. Look at that. It also catches a ball. Very good. It has a lot of good AI technology. But then imagine, instead of AI controlling this robot, what if it's you inside the robot? Your consciousness controlling each and everything. Obviously, you're going to feel different because you're going to have like a different body and all that stuff. But at the end of the day, you're still going to be alive. That's the kind of sinful things that the world is currently leading us to. The technology that's going further and further, it basically seems like everything in the Bible, it just seems very real, man. Maybe this is what the Bible has already warned us about, not taking the mark of the beast. And also a lot of people did suspect that the mark of the beast is going to be this injection of a microchip that they're going to put inside of your body. And once they do that, you're going to use that chip in order to pay for everything in the world. So you will need that chip like an identity chip. Instead of carrying like a passport or an ID or any place you want to enter, like for example, restaurants, railway stations, airports, even if you want to travel, where, you know, the guy named Antichrist, he might be the one that's ruling. And obviously, I think it could most probably be Elon Musk, because all the technology that he's creating, it kind of just results all the way back to him possibly being the Antichrist. So just my theory, by the way. But what's interesting here is that once you get this chip into your body, we never know. Maybe this chip could also do the same thing as what, you know, these guys are trying or planning to do with the brain implant thing, where they basically put this whole chip inside your brain and it's just going to take your consciousness away and it's going to load the consciousness into this chip, which then they can basically put into a robot and they can control your soul. So this could basically lead to one of the worst situations ever, which means that you might end up dead from the human body, but then for your soul to actually move on to the next life and meet the judgment day and meet God, you're now trapped inside this chip because you basically took the mark of the beast, the chip, and your soul is not going to be allowing you to leave this planet. You're just stuck here, you're stuck in the chip, and that is probably what the Bible warns us about, not taking the mark of the beast, because once you take it, we never know what kind of technology these guys have possessed, and it seems like our consciousness might basically just get trapped in there forever and ever. So they could just use those consciousness and put them into all of these robots, and they can control, they can make us slaves because they have full control of the body that we operate in. So we have the intelligence and the consciousness, which means that they can just make us slaves forever and ever. And we also have like a body that's infinitely going to be functioning just with a motor or capacity of all of these robotics. I think you guys should take
what happens
this one right
if
here.
Someone ultimately does get a NeuralLink installed? What will take place?
So you basically take out a chunk of skull, put the NeuralLink device in there that has a battery and a Bluetooth and a inductive charger. Insert the electrodes. So the electrodes are very carefully inserted, avoiding, you know, any veins or arteries. You stitch up the hole and you just have a little scar. And
that looks very scary, to be honest. Imagine you just having a knob like popping out of your skull. That looks so freaking terrifying.
That's it. And you wouldn't even know that somebody has it. It could, in principle, fix almost anything that is wrong with the brain. You could also
What do you mean?
Save state. And
Save state?
Save state, like save your brain state, like a saved game in a video game.
Whoa.
Wow.
And restore that state into a biological being if you wanted to in the future. In principle, there's like nothing like from a physics standpoint that prevents us. Now you'd be a little different, but then you're also a little different when you wake up in the morning from yesterday.
No,
What happened?
I I don't think so. You're not a little different when you wake up from yesterday. Obviously, you know, you're basically just changing your whole being. You're like a human, and then you just change your biological being. You can just transform your body into like any animal body. If you want to be a lion, you can basically become a lion, I guess. All you have to do is just put your NeuralLink chip and then surgically operate a lion and then transform like your whole consciousness into the lion, and the lion is basically going to live as you. That's crazy. It's not like, as Elon says,
like
it's
knowing,
just
like from a physics standpoint, that prevents us. Now, you'd be a little different, but then you're also a little different when you wake up in the morning from yesterday.
But then you're still a little different when you wake up in the morning. Definitely not Elon. Now, what's actually interesting about these guys is that they are currently doing a startup.
Not quite 3 years old. A little girl from Thailand who had normally do low vitrify them.
So they basically just put our bodies inside this,
freezing,
and they're just going to freeze us.
Crystallizing will just get thicker and thicker, and it's like a glassy block holding all the cells in place without any internal structure, and so does no damage. And once we reach that point, which happens around minus 110 degrees C or so, once that's happened, the body becomes a true solid, and absolutely nothing is happening in the body. There's no biochemical activity whatsoever, certainly no neurological activity. So at that point, really, it doesn't matter whether you wait a day or 100 years, you're going to be just the same as when you started.
Damn.
So some of the cooling takes place in that box, but then the final cool down will take place in this smaller dewar here. Again, the patient's in the aluminum pod, so we can just hook that up, open up our roof, winch them up, move them along, and then straight down into one of these other containers for long-term storage.
That is insane, man. This just looks like some sort of a sci-fi movies.
Which, if you look at the cost of open heart surgery, is really
What you'd be
Look
thinking.
at this stuff. So your human body is basically going to be stored inside of these forever and ever for generations. 100 years, maybe you're just going to come back alive. And maybe into the future, you never know. We might have lots of different technologies, and they're just going to transfer all of your consciousness into whichever bodies you want. This looks like, it kind of reminds me of that game called Cyberpunk 2077, where you can basically change your bodies to whatever you want. You can be a robot. You can basically be whatever. They just take your consciousness, place it into a chip, put it into any sort of robots or any other human being that is like genetically altered, and then you're basically going to live in that body. That's just crazy. What's interesting is that NeuralLink is actually available right now, and it's already currently going through a lot of human trials. People that are physically disabled, who don't really have the ability to like use their bodies, they are the ones that actually got the NeuralLink tested onto their brains, and it seems like they're able to function outside of their body using the computers. They can basically operate everything that's electronic using just their brains. And one of these NeuralLink patients who is currently going through this whole experiment, like the supernatural things that this dude can actually do.
Here, Noland, now 30, receiving a life-changing opportunity.
One day, one of my buddies from college called me up. We talked pretty regularly, and he was like, hey, NeuralLink, they opened up the human trials. And I said, what's NeuralLink?
NeuralLink, co-founded by Elon Musk, is an experimental implantable brain-computer interface, or BCI.
Stuff. So they basically just make a hole in your skull, and then they kind of just operate it using machines.
A chip surgically implanted by a robot and connected by threads to a patient's brain that allows the patient to control a computer or smartphone with their mind.
This is all from there to there.
Look at this stuff.
Man. Wow.
NeuralLink.
So he's basically playing chess, and he isn't even using the laptop. He's just controlling it all using just his brains. And I want you guys to go in and take a look at this one. Let me just pull this whole full screen here. And he's basically just operating the
this
whole
is all
thing
from there to there. Yeah, man.
using his brains.
Wow.
NeuralLink is not the only.
And also there's another woman who's actually paralyzed, and she was given the chance in order to go ahead and use the NeuralLink. And apparently she was hooked up to this whole NeuralLink thing, and she's able to use her entire body inside of an AI. She's basically controlling all of her consciousness through an AI that's present inside a computer. Take a look at this stuff.
Electrocorticography grid, which is attached to a pedestal, which is screwed onto the participant's skull. And is the very first person to have this combination.
So she can't speak in real life, basically. and she's obviously going to be speaking through the computer system. So it's basically like, for example, let's just say that this is not an AI. Let's just say it's just a robot. So if her consciousness is just basically linked into that robot, she can control the entire robot as herself. She can basically be herself and operate the robot. So currently they're just testing it out with an AI, 3D model, so she can speak through that, which is insane.
I think you are wonderful.
I was thinking about running to the store.
What time will you be home?
In about an hour.
Do not make me laugh.
That is crazy. I mean, she's literally able to communicate anything that she wants to say. Now, what's actually impressive is that they've also done NeuralLink trials on animals before, doing on the humans, and they obviously tried it on monkeys. So the monkey could actually operate like a human being. It could think like human being and do stuff. So they just boost the IQ of the monkey and make it more intelligent using the NeuralLink. And this monkey right here, it has like the whole NeuralLink implant, like fully implanted into it. And it basically, controls the whole video game right here. I think you should
He's
go
a
and take a look
9-year-old
at this ping pong.
macaque who had a Neuralink. Hasn't quite fully grown.
And look at that. It basically controls this thing using its NeuralLink.
He's learned to interact with a computer for a tasty banana smoothie delivered through a straw.
Look at
we
this
can
stuff.
interact with the NeuralLinks simply by pairing them to an iPhone, just as you might pair your phone to a Bluetooth speaker.
That's crazy, man.
The links record from more than 2,000 electrodes implanted in the regions of Page's motor cortex that
That's
coordinate
just
hand
crazy. That this
On the
monkey,
right
look at
side
that
of the
stuff. It's
screen,
basically playing
Page
the
simply
game.
thinks about moving his hand up or down. We've removed the
It's
joystick
literally playing the
altogether.
game like a human would.
Now that he's up to speed, let's increase the difficulty and see how well Pager can play with the NeuralLink.
Wow. That is insane, man. Oh my god. And he's actually doing it like
you can
really
see,
perfect. I
he's
wouldn't be
focused,
able to do it as well.
And he's playing entirely of his own volition. It's not magic. The reason NeuralLink works.
That's crazy. So this is basically how the whole NeuralLink system is going to be working. I mean, I think it's going to be helpful for a lot of people that are like disabled, I guess. People who have disability with like physical body. I think those people are going to find this very helpful. There's also like a headset which actually is currently available in the current gaming market, where you can go ahead and purchase this headset right here. And you basically have to put that on like a helmet, just like a headphone, like a regular headphone. And it could basically, read all the electrodes and all that electromagnetic energy that passes through each and every nerves in your brain cells. And it could basically read your mind. That's how crazy it is.
This headset can actually read my mind.
And there's also a streamer girl who actually uses one of these, helmets in order to control video games through her mind. Look at this stuff. She basically controls everything just with her mind.
Found a way to play games with her mind, finding success in games like Elden Ring, Halo, and Trackmania, all without the use of a controller. And the best part? It's not just Perry that can do it.
Damn.
Mind control gaming is exactly as it sounds. It is gaming with your mind. So in my case, I have an EEG that picks up my brain activity, and then I've just translated that into pushing buttons on a virtual controller. What kind of activity is going on, and if I've trained it to recognize what this means, then it can look and see if you're doing that.
That's just crazy, man. So she's basically just controlling the whole video game through just mind controls. And now, as you've seen, it's very clear that we are now very far away from the day when the Mark of the Beast is going to be arriving. And it seems like it's going to be one of the most advanced technology that humankind has ever seen. And these things are currently being made by Elon Musk, the guy behind the high-tech Tesla and all that, crazy infrastructure that he's building right now. And he's also into politics lately. He's currently the one who's building this insane technology. He's also helping a lot of people who are kind of disabled using all of these features, but at the same time, with good comes most of the bad stuff, because the thing that he's creating is just so freaking insane, where you can basically just resurrect yourself back again, simply just putting your consciousness into a chip. And even if you want to resurrect your body, you can just freeze it, because there's a German company that's also backing this whole stuff up, where they're going to save your body into like a freezer, and it's basically going to keep you alive for like generations to come. That's just insane. Honestly, if this technology does arrive in 2026, as Elon Musk says, would you actually be the ones to go ahead and try this out? Because if you're a good Christian, I think you should definitely stay away from this stuff, because this book right here, the Holy Bible, it actually mentions all about this stuff. It mentions that there will be a time where Antichrist, the guy who's going to be ruling the world in the absence of God, that guy is going to be the one who's going to force this whole implantation, like the chip implantation that's going to be put into your body. And this chip is going to be called as the mark of the beast, where you will basically need this chip in order to trade, in order to get anything done in the world. Basically, if you want to even travel in an airplane, or if you want to travel in a train or cab or taxi, any place, you just want to get into a movie theater, you will need an ID card in order to do it. So the ID card is basically not going to be your physical ID cards anymore. It's just going to be a chip, which will be scanned, and it's going to be put into your palm or your forehead, is what the Bible says. So obviously, as far as what we have seen, it seems like this chip is being implanted into your head, which means that this could finally be the mark of the beast, which the Bible spoke of. So I think we should really stay away from this stuff, and God was very clear in terms of like giving us instructions that we should really stay away from this stuff, because it's not going to let your soul reach heaven. And now it all makes sense. Because now that we have seen these things, your soul is definitely not going to be reaching heaven, because it's just going to get trapped into this chipset, which is then going to be reused by the Antichrist, and they're just going to make you slaves forever and ever. So they're just going to put you into any robot. They could just put you into any animals, and they could control you as they would basically like to do. And you really can't do anything about it. So you're just pretty much a lost soul. And I think, you should really stay away from this stuff. And if you're even thinking about it, I think you should definitely stay away from it. So honestly, I would like to know, what do you guys think about this whole technology that's coming up, this whole sinful technology, I mean? And would you actually be someone that would go ahead and try it out if this whole technology comes out and maybe they give you like a free trial? Would you actually go ahead and take it? Let me know in the comments down below, because it's going to be a very interesting conversation to go ahead and have a look at. And if you guys did go on and enjoy this video, I really ask every single one of you guys to go ahead and share this video with as many people as you possibly can, so that they can know about the things that's going on in the world, because these things are crazy. And I think many people are actually lost, and they don't really understand that the scriptures have already spoken about these things. And maybe if you go ahead and share this video with those people, they might eventually open up their eyes and get to see the truth. So you might be doing a great deed for God. Please just go ahead and share this video with as many people as you possibly can. And if you can't really share it, the best thing you can do is obviously go ahead and drop a big fat like on this video, and also leave a comment, because the YouTube algorithm, it just helps promote this video to more people if there are more likes and more comments. It's basically going to help the algorithm make the video push out to more people out there, so more people get to watch this video. So you could just be doing a massive favor by dropping a like and a comment, which could actually go a long way. Now, if you guys want to stay updated with more content like these every single day, where I keep you guys in the loop of everything that's going on in the world with my daily podcast, then make sure to go ahead, subscribe. We're closing into 350,000 subscribers, and thank you guys so much for every single one of you guys who have been a great support of this channel. It really means a lot to me, and it just keeps me motivated in order to make better content for you guys every single day. So without your support, nothing is possible. And with that being said, I hope you guys have a wonderful rest of your day, and I'll see you guys on the next one. Till then, take it easy, fams, and goodbye.